Hello everybody and welcome back. We're looking at question 22, the second part C question on the grade 8 Gauss. And what have we got? A 3x3 grid is filled with the digits 1, 2, and 3, so that each number appears once in each row and column. This is actually something I've studied in math. It's called a Latin square. It's pretty cool, actually. There's no one quite knows how many Latin squares there are for a given size, but that's not important right now. Each number appears once in each row and column. Two different examples. Well, here we've got ones here, twos, and threes, each one in a separate row and column. Same thing here. Oh, they flipped it. The ones are here, the twos are here, and there are threes here. Very nice, very nice. How many different ways are there of filling the grid? Okay, so this is a counting question. And what we mean by that is, we just want to count up the number of different ways to do something. Now, there's sort of a very silly long way to do this, which is just think of as many of these types of squares as I can, write them all out, make sure I don't draw the same one twice, and then count them all up at the end. Okay? Now, the way it looks, the answers are 14, 12, 10, 8, 6. There certainly probably aren't that many. But I would caution against this. It's not very orderly, it's not very logical, it's not very mathematical. Okay? And it's prone to errors. If I can only think of 8 of them, but it turns out there's 12, I just can't think of the other 4, well, I've got a problem. I'm going to think the answer is D and not B. So what we want to do is we want to approach this logically. We want to say, okay, we'll start in some very nice, very reasonable place. We'll make a choice. We'll ask ourselves, how many choices are there to make? And every time we make a new choice, the number of choices that we could have had, the number of options we had, they multiply together. So if I had 3 choices here, and then later on I have another choice to make, but it's only 2 things, 3 times 2, 6 is the total number of choices. Okay? So that's sort of advanced counting, and I even teach that to university classes. It's in an introductory lesson, but, if you can grasp that concept, that, number of choices now, and then number of choices at a later choice, multiply together to give you the total number of options, that's a pretty important concept to master. So what are we going to do? Well, we are going to first get ourselves a new page. And I'm just going to start with a regular 3x3 grid. And let's pick a place to start. Now you might say, well, the center's a good place to start. I agree. I also think things like the top corners are good places to start. I read left to right and from the top to the bottom of a page, so I'm actually going to start in the top right-hand corner, or top left-hand corner. Now, what number can go here? Well, any number. Any number out of 1, 2, or 3 can go into this top corner. Okay? We'll get 1, and then, maybe a 2 here, and then a 3 here, or other options down the line. But we have... Actually, I'm going to draw my grid a little bigger. I think rather than constantly redrawing grids, I'm just going to draw a very big grid. So I have 3 choices of number to pick here. 1, 2, and 3. Okay. Well, I read left to right, so let's move over to this box here, the second box. Well, what numbers can go here? Now this is kind of limited, because if I picked a 1 in the first box, I can't pick a 1 here. If I picked a 2 in the first box, I can't pick a 2 here. So if I picked a 1 at the start, I could pick a 2 or a 3. If I picked a 2 for my first box, I could pick a 1 or a 3. And if I picked a 3, I could pick a 1 or a 2. There's 2 choices to make here. And then when I get over to this box here, well, I don't have any other choices to make. There's nothing else I can do. If I picked a 1 here and then a 3 here, I have to have a 2 here. Because if I had another 1, then I'd have 2 1s in a row. If I had another 3, I'd have 3 1s in a row. So what numbers can go here? Well, there's only 1. I don't know definitely that it's 1. It depends on what my previous choices were. But let's just take a look. How many ways are there to fill up the first row? And we have indeed done the first row. Well, there's 3 times 2 times 1 ways to fill in the first row. And we can actually write them out to double check. Okay. 2 We'll turn this into a 3 and a 1, 2, 1, 3, 3, 1, 2, or 3, 2, 1. Those are the only ways to fill in the first row. Okay? But we've been able to count them all up, and there are indeed 6 choices. Okay, well, what about this box down here? Why this box? Well, again, I read left to right, I go from top to bottom. There's no reason you couldn't say, well, what about this box down here? Okay, go about this question how you want to do it. I'm just trying to go through it in a very logical manner so that I don't miss something. So what could go down here? If I picked a 1 first, could I put a 1 here? Well, no. Whatever my first choice was, I can't use that again. So once again, I have 2 choices. Okay. Now, if you're following along, that's 3 times 2 times 1 times 2 choices. That's 12. And if we go back and look at our possibilities, there's 12. The only thing bigger is 14. So we got to be a little cautious. Now, pick my 2 choices. Maybe it's a 3. Well, I can't have another 3 in this row. I can't have another 3 here. I can't have another 3 here. That forces a 3 to go here. Huh. Okay. And if that forces a 3 to go there, and, I've got a 1 up here and a 3 here, that forces a 2 to go here. I'm going to use another color for the things I'm forced to do. So it forces a 2 here and a 3 here. That sort of forces a 1 here, which puts a 2 here and a 1 here. As soon as I pick this number, everything else seems to fall into place. Or at least it does with the 3. Well, what if I didn't pick the 3? What if I picked the other possibility, the 2? Does that still happen? As soon as I pick a 2 here, well, I can't have a 2. This has got to be a 3. There can't be a 2 here or here. There's got to be a 2 here then. Well, that forces a 1 here, which puts a 3 here and a 1 here. Well, the whole thing fills out. There are no other choices to make. The only choices I need to make are what's here. So in the first box, the second box, and this fourth box. Everything else is forced upon me. And that means there's 3 times 2 times 2, which is 12 choices. So 12 different possibilities, and that's an answer of B. Okay. So we did it in a nice, reasonable fashion. We didn't even have to write any of them out, really. Okay. So that's question 22. I will see you in the next video for question 23.